Because we know that he does not like the late game. He even said it in the interview we had with him as well after he got the job done in that ZVZ versus Lambo, but we'll talk more about that later. First up, in the top left side of Dragon Skills, we're looking at the main base of an absolute veteran of the European scene. Just every year you think, maybe his time is gone, did he lose the passion? Nope, he's still going strong. It is the DnS.
Repping that Platinum Heroes bird. That's a logo that's upgraded over time as well, looking fantastic. As in our bottom right corner, repping that good old blue horse from Team Liquid, it is Elazer.
Was apparently doing some indoor rock climbing to get ready for this match. I just saw it on his Instagram.
Oh yeah, as you do. It's a classic. gets the
I did
blood
some
pumping,
indoor rock climbing as well, Waddy, to get ready for this cast. I hope
Did
you
you?
know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate. I was going up and down at rapid speed.
That's why you sounded so booming for the first few series of the day, then, I guess. You just haven't... That's how pumped up you got, Roddy. I understand now.
I was casting it from the top of the wall. That's why I sounded a bit different. Hey, a Forge. Okay. What is this?
Yeah, that is interesting. A Forge Fast Expand. Did we just teleport back to 2013?
I mean, if you want to go Nexus first, it makes sense to play Forge sometimes, but if your opponent is just going Hatch first and has a spawning pool at a relatively normal moment, you don't have to go Forge. So if you go Forge, I can only assume you're doing this because you want to build some cannons on the other side of the map, and that is exactly what Lit DnS is going to try to do here. And Elazer is going to have a hard time dealing with this, right? Because obviously this base is a lot further away than the natural is. He's going to be forced to pull drones, but I have the feeling that DnS has probably practiced this a couple of times, and I think these cannons will go up unless he makes a mistake. DnS, you got to make up your mind, mate. Is that a cannon? Cannons are more vulnerable, but only 2 drones is not enough, as we now have a second cannon going down. This is a spicy start to this best of 3, Waddy.
Yes, it is, as we have that one in the center is going to have good HP on it when it finishes. Obviously, the one on the left is pretty low. We cancel pile on top side, just so we can get the probe out as well. Do you think we let this cannon on the left side finish? Oh, there's links here.
It's not going to work. It's not gonna work, man. I don't think he was supposed to cancel that pylon. I also don't think that cannon on the left side was supposed to be a cannon, right? I think that was supposed to be one more pylon. DnS was just running short on money, and this cannon rush is a straight-up disaster. DnS probably mapped it out, but he mapped it out slightly wrong. I have a feeling that he wanted to wall off with one more pylon, because pylons are obviously a lot more tanky than cannons are. But then he kind of panicked, right? And he's like, I need the probe to be stuck in something, and I need a safety cannon. So he went for cannon. But yeah, the 2 drones just having enough DPS, and I think canceling that other pylon was an even bigger mistake, right? Because that obviously just opened the doors. I saw that he had the probe on hold position, but probes just don't buy a whole lot of time once the links enter the fray, and this is a nightmare opening for DnS now.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a bunch of wasted resources. 500 resources invested into all of this, and he did, what, force out a couple extra lings, if even that than usual, and a couple drones off a line. Yeah, absolutely nothing gained, and Elazer just going to drone away. And what does DnS have? Not even Warp Gate started, too? And he's in an awful spot.
Yep, he really is in an absolutely awful spot. Obviously, if you go Nexus before Gateway, or you go Nexus first, right, then you already have slightly late attack, but now it was Nexus into Forge, into cannons, and now we have a 3-minute 46 Stargate going down. The likelihood of these Oracles, dealing any damage on the other side of the map is just very low. Going Phoenix here is also kind of pointless, because your opponent is just going to have a monstrous economic lead. So even if the Phoenixes then float around, lift up a couple drones, it just has no impact on the Zerg economy at all. I'm not sure what I would like to see DnS do from this spot. Do you have any ideas?
Not really. I guess you just go Oracles and really hope that the defense is messed up and you do find openings that aren't meant to be there. Because, I mean, Elazer is meant to be set up very well at this stage because with what has happened, so... Yeah, just Oracles, take our third base, or at least try to take our third base. I mean, you see Elazer's getting a bunch of extra lings out, so they'll help deal with the Adepts and might even get him a cancel on the third. And if you can just keep this third base down, that alone is going to be great from the Adepts. Don't have any structure here to kind of wall themselves in with immediately, so they have to kind of take a moment before stepping forward. And you know, as the extra lings show up, I think this base is absolutely cancelled. Elazer is still building nothing but lings.
I said, oh no, because I actually saw Phoenix on the production tab after that first Oracle, but DnS wisely changed that. This Oracle needs to stay at home, man, because these Adepts just do not have enough DPS to deal with this many Zerglings. Oracle is going to turn around, but by the time it shows up, this Nexus will get cancelled. And this is just a very painful game. So we're going to go for the double Twilight Council, Wadi. And that's the way to come back into the game.
That's how we do it, man. That is how we do it. The double Twilight, because we want to get charge and more charge at the same time or something. I don't... Yeah.
Are they right next to each other too?
No, one's in the back.
The other one. Yeah, okay. I mean... Please cancel, please cancel. No, we don't cancel. All right, let's get charged then.
Can you imagine that you start charge after Blink though? Like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's just money down the drain. When you're already having such a rough opening, the double Twilight ain't gonna help you out. Probe goes down again. The few Lings are just gonna keep dominating this side of the map. Elazer's on 62, Workers to 50, and yeah, okay, it's just crazy how much of a lead you get off of that initial defense, just how committed DnS was and how much more he needed to do for that investment. You know, the knock-on effect is extremely obvious, and yeah, this is obviously really turned into just disastrous territory. In game number 1, Triple Oracle, yeah, he gets a cancel on the drone heading to the 4th, or well, actually was the 5th base, because there's already a 4th bottom left. That's the kind of game we're playing. Elazer expanding everywhere, and yeah, Triple Oracle ain't doing much. There's Lings across the map again. Here we go.
Yep, Stalkers do have some protection there with the pylon. There is a cannon to help out, and the cannon obviously has a bit more DPS than these Stalkers do, but these Lings are still having a pretty good time. They're probably not going to get every single unit there, but they'll get a couple of workers. Not the worst defense here, obviously, by DnS. That could have gone worse, but this is no longer like one of these moments where, oh, the Lings of Elazer need to deal damage. No. Elazer is a Zerg on 80 drones, okay? This is kind of what you want to use Lings for normally. And DnS is just in all sorts of troubles. He now also goes double Robo. That's probably on purpose. The double Twilight wasn't. A little bit ambitious. Double Robo, 59 probes. But I also don't hate it, right? Because maybe the one way that he can bring this game back is just by getting a couple of Colossus out quickly and then standing near these batteries. Yeah, you got to pray for something, right? You got to try to make a comeback, and one Robo is probably not going to do it. So I kind of like the second Robo. But I think if Elazer just starts spending his money, it's just something he's been struggling with a tiny bit. I feel like he should truly become the swarm here and should have overwhelming numbers.
Yeah, I guess with the Bane Nest finishing, he can at least spend a bunch of that money on Banelins, and he's not as lava dependent on spending it all. So that probably will help him out as things just doing what they can, running in again for a moment. I'm with you. I like the Robo Bane, the double Robo. You know, you need something extreme, not quite as extreme as double Twilight. I think double Robo is kind of like just the right amount of like actual potential to maybe do something. Yeah, maybe it doesn't work, but I think sometimes you just gotta go for it, right? And yeah, I think that's the case here.
Some advice for all the children out there at home, guys. No matter how dire things come, never go double Twilight. It's not the right answer. It may seem like the right answer, but it never isn't. Don't try it, not even once. Lings are gonna run into the 3rd base. Stasis Trap gets activated. Not even that annoying for Elazer, right? Because now you kind of get a nice little scout there for a little while, and there is nothing that DnS can do about it. So you know exactly what you're going up against. Knows about one of those Robos. I don't think he necessarily knows about the second one. Elazer is in an amazing spot, but it is important that soon he starts applying some real pressure and he gets damage, right? Because the closer that DnS gets to maxing out, we saw that with Hearthstone against Cass as well. No matter, ooh, that's painful as well, losing your Observer. No matter how bad a game may start off, if you can max out, you are allowed to dream. So it's really important for Elazer that he starts resetting that army count of DnS sometime soon. And here we go with a bunch of slow Banelings rolling into a very big stasis trap. Shield battery overcharge gets activated, gets picked up immediately. First Colossus falls. It's just an unfair fight, Waddy.
Second Colossus took so long to start as well in this Robo, so it's about to pop now. Maybe we had 2 at the start of this or so, but no, not gonna happen. GG's.
I was giggling there because all the probes were clumped up on the assimilator and Banelings were clearly going to connect. And I was like, are we going to see 20 plus probes die to a couple of Banelings? DnS like, nope, not going to give you the satisfaction,
not
mate.
today.
GG, we're not going to see it. Let's go ahead and hop into game 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Hop into that game number 2. And yeah, I mean, it was stated from the Cannon Rush, right? The Cannon Rush didn't do anywhere near enough for how much of an investment it was. And there you have it. All of a sudden, we're ready ourselves up for game number 2 of this best of 3. Elazer in the lead. I obviously didn't expect it to look like this, and it's all down to that Cannon Rush. Definitely thought this would be a bit more of a fight, but hey, maybe this is what DnS does every time he plays versus Elazer, and that's why the record in the past looks like this as well.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're going to see more cannons here on altitude. It was probably a dragon skill special. The funny thing is that DNS had all the time in the world to get that second and third pylon up, right? If he wanted to. But he wanted to go for the most cost-efficient cannon rush possible. And in a case where Elazer would just cancel that hatchery and expand elsewhere, DNS wanted to get the job done with the bare minimum investment with only a cannon and a pylon. Didn't have to cancel any additional buildings, but... waiting that long, he kind of panicked. He went for the double cannon behind the mineral line, but that's clearly not what he wanted. Cannon is not as tanky as the pylon. It's a shame, because otherwise DNS would have probably been in an amazing spot, because it's not just a cannon rush, it's a Nexus first into cannon rush, and that obviously would give him the economic lead, but it didn't play out like that.
It did not play out like that at all, as we're going to head into altitude here for map number 2 of this best of 3. And see whether or not DNS can bounce back. Starting off, though, in the top right corner of the map, our blue Zerg player is going to be Elazer.
I have to admit that I do think we have been kind of treated today with a couple of wild builds, crazy strategies, crazy way that games have played out as well. It's been a pretty fun opening day of the ESL Masters Europe Regionals. In the bottom left side of altitude, we are looking at the main base of the Frenchmen. Do we have more cannons or do we have something else in store? This is Le DNS.
Yeah, I've had some fun games, haven't we, Roddy? Day 1 definitely delivering. It has been fun so far. Like I say, we're just about halfway through. I've got America starting up. Actually, after this, we only have one more match in Europe and then 3 matches from Americas later. Actually excited for all of those. Some of the Americas matches we have look really good today.
Yep, the entire Americas region is just going to be a whole lot more fun with Special and Elazer duking it out with America and Canada's finest. It's going to be a very fun tournament to follow, especially once we enter the playoffs. But even in the earlier rounds, right, just to see how a couple of the, the lower players of the America region duke it out with some of these guys from the other regions. It's going to be exciting to just follow the journey. And after these first games, I'm already looking forward to the next time XY plays, T-Ball plays, and SCV in particular, because maybe some people missed it. We started off very early with the Asia region, but honestly gave me something to think about, right? SCV looked good, and I want to see more of him.
He did. No, it was actually a really fun start to the day over in the Asia region as well. Also a revamped region where we've got Oceania and Taiwan and China all merged into one now over there, so that's been a lot of fun too, and we're expecting that to heat up over the next few days as well, so plenty of reasons to keep tuning back into the ESL SC2 Masters this week, Roddy, and next week, and the week after.
So tomorrow, are we going to do like Group B of Europe, or is tomorrow more of Group A?
I think tomorrow we actually get a mix, because so in each group there's like 8 matches in round 1, right? So today we do 5 of Group A, and then tomorrow we do probably 3 of Group A and 2 of Group B, and then I think on the day after there's actually 6 Group B, so that all of round 1 is done in Europe, I think.
Okay. Next.
So yeah, tomorrow will be a bit of a mix, I believe.
That's exciting, especially that Group B on paper, man. Max Pants,
Yeah.
Raynor, Clem, Kate, Skillers. Like, yeah. It's very tough for some of the underdogs, right? Because you obviously hope that you're in the group with more players of your own skill level, but are just a couple of guys that we can pretty much lock in for the playoffs. Now, we have seen crazy upsets over the years, quite a few times. Even a player like Elazer, right, that was absolutely considered top 8 in Europe, did not always make it out of the old groups. So these pros know that they have to take it very serious. Is missing out on the playoffs. Lambo, for instance, has also been on the wrong side of those things once, I believe. So, it's exciting for everyone. I think it is safe to say that a couple of the slots for the playoffs have already been given.
Yeah, I think so. As you have the Adept. Not going to do too much. Good initial defense here from Elazer. Doesn't lose anything at all. Sometimes you have this first Adept, grabs a drone or so, and just causes a bit more trouble than it ever really should, but yeah, Elazer's defense has been brilliant here to start us off with, and that's exactly what you want to see. Solid start to this second game from him.
And Elazer so far is looking sharp. Maybe by taking some things a bit less serious, he's been able to just kind of find his groove again and his rhythm, because he did really blow us away with his performance in those qualifiers of Game S8. And so for today, obviously in Game 1, he didn't make any mistakes. He just did what he had to do. Kind of like the initial commitment on the links we had. Was it necessary? No, but yeah, just realizing that he can get away with it based on the start that he had was smart and got himself even further ahead than he already was. Here in game 2, we're also looking pretty good. Couple of links going to the other side of the map as the queens were just trying to make sure they were in the correct position to deal with the oracles. Said Elazer is waiting for both of these oracles to be on the other side of the map. How many units does DNS have near that nexus? Just 2 adepts, but one of them is already a bit injured. Look at Elazer. He waits until the oracles reveal themselves. This could be a good fight for these links, Waddy.
Massive surround as well. The new adept gets fully surrounded. The other one was hurt, and these few links could actually peel away to another couple of the adepts. Yeah, there's Oracle harass going on to deal with as well, but this is actually being a good start over here from Elazer. I mean, not so good now that it was only 2 adepts in the end, though, actually. 3 at the very end.
Well, one more adept will fall. That one adept between those 2 mineral patches was amazing.
Yeah.
I actually thought that at least 3 links will be able to attack that adept, but on any given moment, we only saw 2 Zerglings at a time killing that adept, and that obviously made it all a bit more doable for DNS. And since the Oracle control was sexy on the other side of the map, found the one base where there was no Spore Crawler, and even though there were queens, I think DNS did a good job in outmaneuvering them. That was just round 1, though. We know when it comes to this many oracles, there is never just a single round. It really comes down to what these oracles can accomplish in the next, give or take, 90 seconds.
Working their way around the right side, ready to dive into the main even. So in they go, and look, see if they can get a little bit extra here. There are adepts on the other side as well, getting a few drones. So that's 4 more drones lost, and now DNS really is rolling when it comes to damage dealt in this game.
Yep, it just really starts adding up so quickly for a Protoss if you're playing like this. And as long as you keep the key core units alive, these oracles, you are more than happy with throwing away a couple of adepts here and there for drone damage. And if it's not the adepts, well, then maybe it would be the oracles that find that damage. So far, so good for the man who's down 0-1. As Elazer is just taking another base, this time around in the top left side. Elazer is taking interesting expense today, because on Dragon Skills, he also took the bottom left when he spawned at the bottom. Now he's taking the top left on altitude, rather than taking the triangle base.
Yeah, just wants to play this kind of linear setup, which is... Yeah, I mean, usually you just take that triangle base because it's nice and close, but he hasn't even got creep really adventuring in that direction, so... Yeah, intriguing. Don't really have a good reason why, as a Dropper Lord comes in on the left side.
Pretty early. Probably just going to try to drop 8 random links in the main base, as 1 drone does make it over to the triangle base, but the oracles are protecting it. I guess DNS does not know. I can double check very quickly. No, DNS doesn't know yet about the top left side, but... I mean, the alarm bells have to go off. This is 6 minutes and 50 seconds into the game. It'd be very unusual if Elazer was still on 3 base there.
Yeah, we see the Stalkers starting to gather together, by the way. Blink's done soon, so we'll start a pressure here. And he's got the double Robo and Robo Bait behind it. So very likely we actually see some Disruptors out of this, potentially. Nope, he's going to go Colossi again, so he's going to stick to that. And that's a very hero thing to do, and I know DNS really loves kind of copying a lot of what Hero likes as well. As you see, Blink splitting off that stasis and just backing away for the moment, not comfortable continuing in.
The slow Overlord drop is about to hit the main base of DNS, Waddy. And yeah, DNS has around 17 seconds to react to it. Now these links will have +1 melee soon, and there's no shield battery in the main base, so you still have to respect it. At the same time, the Stalkers were battling the links on the other side of the map. An awkward link defense in the end. Like, not bad damage, right? It's a silly tiny investment that Drop Lord and these 8 links. But a lot of lost mining time, forcing a defensive warp in, and 7 probes going down, and a good fight against the Stalkers. Like, that link drop actually has just kind of turned this game around, where it looked like it was going great for DNS. Now suddenly it feels that all the tempo and momentum belongs to Elazer.
Yeah, especially just these links doing so well on this side, and they're going to turn that into a cancel on this 4th base, potentially. 2 Colossi running over, they don't have range yet, so they've got to get real close to fight this. The Lings are going to commit through. Stalkers blink to get as much as possible here, even the Oracle's returning home. But the Lings get rid of that 4th, and just going to be happy to slow DNS's eco down a little bit further at the start of this game. Another Colossus coming up, +2 attack, charge, extended thermal lance, all being brought out still. And our Temple Archives now dropping down in the main also.
Yep, and Elazer's supply is about to explode as he's got 19 roaches on the production tab. And he's like, hey, that 1 Drop Lord was awesome. Let's go ahead and make 2 more. This can obviously be for some Baneling drops down the line, as his melee upgrades are just on point. +2 is more than halfway done. So by the time that these Overlords make it to the other side of the map, we could very well try to one-shot some workers. Definitely feeling it from Elazer. DNS is probably just going to focus on the defense. Shouldn't be out of position all that often with these oracles and all the map vision that he can create for himself. But if you look at the minimap, DNS doesn't really see a whole lot. So dealing with Baning drops could become a problem.
Yeah, no vision just out to the edges of his bases, so very little reaction time, especially if multiple things start happening at the same time. then it's tough to kind of react immediately, which is kind of what you need to do when those Banes are going to one-shot all the probes. Elazer starts up some spines, so he's getting ready against the inevitable Zealot run-bys. Charge is just about to finish, so he's kind of on time with that, because as soon as Charge is done, Protoss players typically should just start sending Zealots across the map, because they're almost always worth it, just to take the attention away from the other side, if nothing else.
And Elazer's already thinking about that, Wadi, as he's got 4 spine crawlers on the production tab. That also gives us the idea that the man just does not want to go an infestation pit and hive anytime soon. Elazer likes to send it off lair attack, and he likes to make a lot of lings, roaches, banelings. 41 banelings morphing in the center of the map, as we are also setting up the baneling drops. These are +2 melee banelings. This really is old school Elazer, right? This is where he found all that success and that magical run into the BlizzCon semifinals of the year 2017. Let's see if Elazer can kind of replicate that magic that he had back then, because back then every single probe would often go down. Here we go, it's a full send, it's a lot of banelings running into a stasis trap. This attack maybe not all that great, this baneling drop not all that great. The one in the main base though is finding some decent damage.
Yeah, honestly, you gotta say impressed with DNS's defense. He pulled from the right, pulled from the left, and did okay. Oh no, he gets a few more at the very end. 23 probes go down. These Banes about to pop out of stasis. We're going to go with the main army right now, as well as these Banes to go straight into the mineral line through the battery. And he actually just straight up gets rid of the Nexus, and a bunch more probes going down, and Elazer just retreating out of there.
Yeah, Elazer's probably thinking, are you kidding me? I built 1 million spines and I'm still losing a couple of drones at home. Well, spines don't help out against the oracles. They were busy, but I think these oracles would have been very handy at home, because obviously Elazer didn't really have any real anti-air with his army, right? So if you just have these oracles with a bunch of energy idling above 41 banelings that morph in the center of the map, you can make your life a whole lot easier as a Protoss. In the end, just Elazer definitely finding more than enough damage to justify the crazy amount of banelings he threw at his opponent there. Now he's throwing down more static defenses, spines and spores combined, and we even have the infestation pit.
Infestation pit, indeed. I think that's a pretty big deal. Got that infestation pit up, and just, you know, Oracle's diving in, going to go after a few drones already. 5 workers immediately going down. Now the Oracle going to peel off to the left-hand side, and I mean, I gotta say, these Oracles are putting work. Finally one going down. Elazer, though, is getting ready, Roddy. Do you think he has enough banelings? 35 plus 30? You know?
65 Banes at minute 12. I've seen more. I've seen someone do better. Someone give Nesty a call and show him this nerds how it's done. But here we go. 65 banelings are rolling in. And at this point, if you have this many, you may as well settle for a couple of Archons. That is exactly what Elazer does. Nice spread, though, by DnS, right? Kind of minimalizing the splash damage there. This Nexus will fall once more. But it's a hard time imagining that was worth 65 banelings. Very good job by DnS, but I don't think he quite has enough units left over to counterattack. He's gonna try, though, by the looks of it.
Yeah, a little concern. I mean, the 4 Colossi are really the kings right now, because they can actually get rid of any sort of Ling Flood kind of reinforcement wave from Elazer. I think without that, there might be a bit more trouble. That was a lot of Banes crashing into all those Archons. Like you say, it was hard to imagine that they were really worthwhile, and yeah, DnS holding on, keeping himself alive, getting into Storm as well. As that finishes, that's obviously only going to be better for him as well. So that's also got to be a factor here as we continue moving through.
Yep, DnS is at 61 probes, which obviously means that if he is able to max out, we are looking at 139 army supply, and that would be a problem for Elazer, because Elazer's drone count is sky high, so his army is always going to be a whole lot smaller. But it's not a big deal if you got some sexy, scary hive-tech units, but he doesn't have any of those at the moment. 44 banelings being morphed once more, a couple of them in the bottom right side, a lot of them in the center. With this playstyle and this drone count, I guess it is important for Elazer to just keep on trading, but it's also important that you don't imagine yourself a whole lot richer than what you actually are, because it's not like he's got 3,000 gas in the bank.
His gas bank is drained, and he's got extractors to take as well, so you can definitely set up for a little bit more. A little bit of action on the right side already. The Banes on the left getting stormed for the most part. This one's a great hold from DnS. He takes basically no damage at all, and now this army of Elazer just isn't doing anything. He is stuck on a low-tech army, and DnS's force is looking incredible in comparison.
Yeah, but we have hive tech, right? So what are we going to do with it? We're going to fire up a Viper. 62 additional lings are being produced. Adreno Glance gets fired up immediately as well. And as scary as Adreno is, against this many Archons and this many Colossus, I'm not sure how much of an impact that will really be. Elazer is going to recycle a couple of these drones into static defenses, but then immediately make more drones. Yeah, I'm worried, man. I just don't think that Elazer's army is actually capable of fighting this specific army of DNS, unless he's able to land a couple of key abducts on the Colossus, obviously.
Yeah, he needs to get rid of these tech units, but it just becomes more and more difficult. Viper's absolutely going to be essential here. You need those abducts to do well. This spine wall, great against Zealots, not so great against absolutely everything showing up, and Elazer just starts to counterattack. Okay, maybe not as much as I thought. I thought he might just go across with everything for a while, and yeah, instead he just sends a few lings over, maybe cancel a base, but he's losing the base himself, and I still don't think he's got an army to truly fight this off.
Now, maybe with a very sexy 360s run, High Templars left behind, by the way, that could become a problem for DNS, and he is already taking care of it, sending them back right now to the main army. Elazer is trying to create some chaos, 30 extra Banelings morphing. I mean, this man has made over 200 Banelings in this game. He's got 52 Banes out at the moment. There is the Spire, by the way, because I was thinking, instead of like 60 Banelings at a time, what if we do 40 Banelings, but we also have a Great Spire? Then this game would obviously look a whole lot prettier for Elazer. Now he's in trouble. DNS's army is bigger, it's better, it's higher tech, and just has a whole lot more potential. But maybe with a sexy surround it is possible. Here come the Banelings. They're just going to roll into this Protoss army, as we do have a couple of nice abducts landing on the Colossus, on the Immortals, but there is still so much Protoss remaining.
There is a lot. Enemy just keep on pushing through. The Stalkers and the Archons, the Colossi too, continue to pressure on in. And it really doesn't feel like Elazer will have enough. A lot of his supply is in reproduction, and it's lings that are just going to melt when they spawn and try and run into this. We're going to give it a go, though. An Archon in the front going down. We have a Storm left over. Apparently drops that on some of the Roaches here. The Archons are being chewed through. Extra lings showing up. We've only got one Colossus left when it comes to splash damage. The lings might be able to start helping in a big way. But it feels as though there's now a reinforcement wave of Stalkers, and that's enough to keep pushing Elazer back as DNS looks to tie up this series.
Yep, the Queen's Fall as well, which means these Oracles will go uncontested, and that one Colossus is just a problem. Elazer is going to make a few more Ravages now. Ravages can sometimes do alright with Stalkers. They do have +2 missile attacks. Maybe we're going to reposition some of these spines and spores that we made earlier. But DNS is obviously not done yet. He likes what he has accomplished so far, and he wants more. If the Colossus gets abducted, though, it can still get very scary, right? Because no matter how many bases Elazer just lost, still has a decent amount of bases, and he actually still has 71 drones out, so tiny chance for Elazer, but it absolutely has to start with taking care of this Colossus.
Yeah, this one Colossus is just sat there, an absolute champ. 56 kills, looking for more. Oracles will lead the charge in, even going to activate, go after a Ravager. The Spinecrawler migration to the right side is not quite where it needs to be, not that it really helped much against this army, but you'd imagine that Elazer wants to try and throw everything possible towards DNS in these next few moments. He's got a link counterattack going on again, trying to keep DNS on only 4 bases, which maybe gives him a chance. That Nexus actually did not go down yet. It keeps on building, so it will survive. And meanwhile, obviously, DNS's army just looking unkillable on the top side.
Sounds like DNS got a Zealot run by 2 in the natural, and it turns out there was 1 adept. I was like, how did this 1 adept end up in the back of the natural of Elazer, shooting at an extractor? It was a bit odd. Here we go, Colossus very exposed, and a sloppy mistake there on the side of DNS. I can probably get away with it, but it's obviously going to get a little bit scary if we lose these Archons too, because don't forget that Lynx with +3 and Adrenal Glands are going to have a field day with a Stalker-only army. But there are still a couple of Archons in the mix, and the Elazer supply is plummeting at a very rapid pace. There aren't enough Lynx in the mix to really have a big impact on how this fight is going to play out anymore. GG gets called, and DNS wins an 18-minute game on altitude, where Elazer lost over 15,000 resources more than his opponent.
That was just absolutely ridiculous, obviously. Just some of those fights were not good, man. I was, the way this game was done, I was just going to stand up and show my t-shirt. I was like, Banelings, that's how we roll, but they didn't keep on rolling very well at all in the end, man. They just rolled straight into, like, some of these fights where it's like they just go in headfirst into so many Archons, like, it just doesn't work out. And I feel like at that stage, you need to be at least a little bit creative, right? I know you had a bit of the momentum and everything, but it felt like it just became very one-dimensional, unfortunately. And DNS gets back in it. Now it's 1-1 between the two in this PVZ.
Yeah, the first time around when he got the 36 probes and the Nexus, I was like, not all that bad, but
Yeah.
the second one, when he went with those 44 Banes, that attack just did not work out at all. And kudos to DNS, by the way, for the way that he was microing his units defensively, right? He set up a beautiful concave and kind of made sure that, the initial Banelings, they crashed into Archons next to each other. Obviously not bad for the Protoss. But then the few banelings that were left over, they had to walk into a concave and could only connect with one key unit at a time. And that's obviously where banelings will truly start falling off, no matter how rich you are as a Zerg. And just solid defense by DNS. Did a great job in hanging in there. Played a solid game too.
Let's see if he can do it again in game number 3. Neo Humanity is a deciding map of this series. Winner gets to go 1-0 and to be 2 matches away from advancing to playoffs. Loser will have to claw back and just loses one of their lives in this Swiss group stage of the European regionals. We're pretty much set to go. Neo Humanity going to be the map. And like we say, 1-1, tied up. We'll start it off in the bottom right-hand corner with the blue Zerg representing Team Liquid. This is Elazer.
I believe it's a pretty good map for carriers, Waddy. Didn't we just...
Yeah, we definitely just saw that before, didn't we?
In the top left side of Neo Humanity, we are looking at the main base of the man who went for some cannons in game 1. Those didn't work out, but the Colossus and Stalkers and Archons got the job done in game 2. This is the Frenchman, Le DnS, representing the Platinum Heroes, the team of Goblin and Coco.
Wow, what a lineup.
2-star players.
1-star player, 1 legendary player. We all know which way around that is. I mean, when was the last time you saw Goblin innovate and build such as the flower and everything, you know?
Goblin didn't tell the world about the second overcharge, did he?
Been a fun day, aren't we?
Did Goblin already play in WTL Code S, actually?
I didn't see this weekend, so maybe not.
All right, let's see.
I'm not sure.
I don't remember. I know in the qualifiers, obviously, he played. I don't know if he made a Code S appearance.
Overlord making its way across the map. Nexus going down from DNS. Do you think Elazer has a way to find some aggression on this map? I feel like this one can always be tough, right? Because you get 3 bases that are pretty set back. You know, you can defend pretty well. There's good chokes into them, even if you're going from 2 sides. So I almost feel like this one, even though you can get across quickly as the Zerg, can still sometimes be difficult to actually engage into the Protoss position.
Unless you take your 3rd base in the center and you get your hands on that rich Vespian geyser, and instead of 3 Ravagers, you show up with 22 Ravagers and a little bit of a creep highway. And you bring the Queens to the other side of the map. Roaches, Ravagers, Queens, +1 missile attacks. Pretty good on Neo Humanity.
You lost to that a couple times, Roddy?
I've actually just seen it win mostly. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a man who likes to go quick DTs, but yes, I have died to it a few times. There's obviously a lot of variations, right? When Zerg players take the center base, it's like, okay, are they gonna link flood me? Are they gonna bailing bust me? Is it going to be roaches early on of hatchery tech? Or will they macro up a little bit and then full send it with a big old army? And I think Lambo is a true expert in just kind of figuring out that fine line of how many roaches and ravages they need before they can bring the queens to the other side of the map. So the answer to your question is yes, but I don't just mention it because of that. I've also seen it just in games that I've been casting.
Very cool. The Stargate's about to finish. Not surprised at all. DNS is absolutely a Stargate player in my eyes, and I'd be more worried if DNS wasn't opening Stargate. I'd wonder what happened to the metagame, because he just loves this. And he, I guess, mixes it up now and again, but Stargate is what he lives by. And in game 3 like this, I think it's pretty much just the expectation. Of course, you can get into those bases. You've got the Stargate for transition later as well. Very cool.
Showtime is still the only Protoss that I've seen do the multiple oracles into 3 base into Robo before Twilight, right? It still feels that almost every other Protoss is still the Twilight follow-up believer. With the way that Elazer plays, I really wouldn't hate it if DNS would go 3 base into Robo and just kind of hold on and waits a little bit with the Twilight Council follow-up. But if it's not something you've practiced, obviously I understand that he's not suddenly going to do that just because Showtime is doing it and has found some success with it, but I do wonder.
Is that the Robo into, like, Disruptors?
Yeah, and then you go Twilight later on, or just, like, into Colossus, Immortals first, just because you're worried about some sort of roach aggression. I just kind of like it if you want to play defensive, and that's obviously something that Mr. Mauer does enjoy. But yeah, DNS probably going to go Twilight here after these oracles, but I kind of feel stylistically it would make sense to experiment with that Robo style, especially against the aggressive Zergs like Elazer.
I'm completely with you. I mean, when you think about it, DnS copies Showtime in a lot of ways in terms of how he plays, wanting to play quite, the defensive style, wanting to look for that late game a lot of the time. So, yeah, it would actually make sense. And again, against the Elazer especially, he oftentimes does run across the map with a bunch of units. Makes even more sense as we get 4 drones off these initial oracles. Good bit of opening aggression here from DnS this time.
Yep, DnS does plan down the Twilight and the Fort, so he's just gonna do what he has been practicing. Those 4 drones is obviously a very sweet start. What I often notice from Elazer when he plays a best of 3 against Protoss is that he has one game where his defense is ultra clean, one game where it's somewhat mediocre, and one game where it's a straight up disaster and the Oracles pretty much win the game. I'm sure that you've been there as well. I really hope for Elazer this is not going to be that disaster game. Maybe it was the previous one, but even in that game, it was obviously not all that bad. Lost maybe 9 drones or so at minute 6 or 7. It was acceptable. Let's hope that this one is going to be better than Altitude, though.
Yeah. Yes, hoping is obviously these oracles still lurking. Find over a bit of the creeps, you get a bit of a heads up where to expect these oracles to come from. So queens can position themselves. No spore in that third. There is one in the main, but there's only one queen there. Let's see, 2 queens in position immediately with the direction the oracles choose. Means they do just turn away. 4 more gateways already being added on as we get ready for the +1 blink, and just 6 gates of stalkers. As the Lings on the other side just don't really find anything just yet, although they maybe could have surrounded a stalker or 2 there. There's no battery or anything.
One Oracle does die. 3 drones is obviously nice, but losing an Oracle is not nice. I have the feeling that Elazer is kind of going to do everything that I was talking about in the beginning of the game. We have taken that center base, we have taken the Rich Vespian Geyser, we've got +1 missile attacks, we've got a Roach Swarm, we're going to get a bunch of Queens, Roaches, Ravages, making their way to the other side of the map. And DnS, honestly, at this point, when it comes to static defenses, Wadi, very simple. The more, the merrier, right? You cannot overdo it here on cannons and batteries, man. You make stalkers, and whenever you have some extra pennies, you make cannons and batteries. Cannons and batteries. I like the fact that he's already getting a robo. You can even go for the robo bay quickly, but it is important to take this as serious as possible.
Yes, like you say, just more static defense is the better static defense. It's very necessary here. If you don't have static defense, you're pretty much just going to die. So, yeah, the more the merrier, and let's hope he starts getting into some more of it soon. He's getting the Robo Bay, Robo Facility, the Temple Archives. That's all well and good, but 1 or 2 tech units doesn't save you in this case. You need those tech units alongside, like you say, that static defense, and Stalker's just picking off a creep team, and that also ain't going to help you right now, man. He has no idea what's about to happen.
I really don't like the Temple Archives. Okay, I think I want to say he canceled it, but he didn't cancel it. He lets it finish. He's going to go for Storm. There is no shield battery to keep this Stalker alive.
No.
That means the floodgates are open. Elazer can go for that pylon, will go for that pylon. Now, obviously, this is not necessarily everything that Elazer has to offer. So maybe this can work out in a decent way for DnS, right? Where you kind of clean up one part of the army, then you clean up the second part. But he's already taking damage. The Robo is unpowered. And now the cannons and the batteries, well, the single cannon and the single battery, super exposed in the third base.
Yep, this third is going to take an absolute beating as our Roaches are just going to come easily make their way through here. And 18 probes already killed. The Stalkers come across trying to fight against some of these Roaches. And, well, these Roaches are going to trade a little bit for a little while and just be pretty happy, I think, with the progress they make in these initial stages. I mean, Stalkers are doing okay at starting to clean up, at least some progress being made, but the damage is done, right? 18, 19 probes, and now the Roaches on the left side are going to continue to come on through as well. We continue to run more reinforcements up the right in DnS. He's struggling, man. I mean, just probe after probe going down. At this point, Elazer, well, he's just going to keep on going. I think keeping on going is the right idea because you don't want to let DnS get too much, and you don't want to give him too much of a chance to recover. So there's a Void Ray out. These last few Roaches will go down.
Imagine how well these Stalkers would have done if they had a battery or 2 to blink back to, or you have 1 or 2 cannons to buy that little bit of extra time. Unfortunately, DnS did not have those buildings. Now he's going to be forced to evacuate the probes as well. This one, I would almost say just let this Nexus die, as painful as that is, but defending 4 bases, I just don't think it's quite doable. Defending 3 bases, though, with that Immortal on the way, with that Void Rays out, maybe, but the man just refuses to get any static defense, and I don't get it, Waddy, because it feels like that would be the absolute best investment you could ever make here as a Protoss.
He's had so much time to do it as well, right? Like, this is not just being like an attack that's in 10 seconds and, the game's done. This has been going on for a minute, 2 minutes now, so he's had the chance to get some started and get some on the way. Elazer, I mean, honestly, maybe would have ended this if all of his money was spent. That's one thing he's been a little bad at during this series. But right now, the Lings are going to flood forward. That Immortal's obviously stuck, no protection. The Stalkers are being chased, and Elazer absolutely has the way to close this game out.
Yep, this actually was still somewhat close. We're like, a decent amount of Protos, still decent amount of probes out there as well. All four Nexus still alive, but the Lings are the biggest problem here, because Stalkers are not particularly known for their crazy DPS. We love the Stalker for its micro potential and the ability to hold the defensive line, but to deal with an overwhelming number of Lings, the Stalker will just not shine.